Welcome in to another episode of Betting the Pitch. This time coming to you live from Dortmund, Germany, Deutschland, if you will, where I speak very little German. I can count to 9, and that's about it. And so we're going for 9 consecutive victories. I don't know if we can make that happen, but I believe it is, or 8 is oct, 9 is knocked, I believe. Anyway, that's stupid, but thanks for coming. Thanks for watching, putting up with me on very little sleep. It was a long trip, but direct flight from Dallas, not so bad, to Frankfurt and a couple trains. And here we are, going through betting the pitch with another match day, calling it match day 7, though that number's going to get all over the place pretty soon. Nice to see that all the leagues are playing, though not all of the English Premier League are actually hosting games. Thank you for watching, whether you're on Twitter, via StreamYard, on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, anywhere you're watching this. Please subscribe, like, leave 5-star reviews, add some comments, or do anything. Hit me up on Twitter, @the_real_G Warner, whatever you got. I would love to see it. And without further ado, just going to try to do a bridged version of this episode, but still have best bets for each league and an ultimate best bet end of show. So stick around with me. We're going to start, as always, with the Premier League. And we have a couple of matches on Friday. Recording this probably normal time that I would on Friday mornings in the US, but it is early evening here in Deutschland. First match will go with Aston Villa hosting Southampton. Currently Aston Villa a quarter goal favorite. And I don't know really what to think about this Aston Villa team. They have all the juice right now, currently using lines from Bet Online. At a half of a goal, I'm very interested in Southampton. I think at a quarter of a goal, I'm also interested. I don't believe in the Aston Villa offense. I feel like their defense has been the strongest part for them, and that doesn't make them win games. Certainly at home, they'll have a crowd behind them and will be in better shape to outperform the marketplace. But Southampton have been pretty impressive so far. They're going to leave themselves open a little bit at the back by playing an aggressive style that pushes up the pitch, which does certainly give some space or will cede some space to Aston Villa and their swift attackers like Ollie Watkins. The problem is he's not a great finisher. Coutinho's older and probably wants an outside the box shot. Danny Ings is older as well. And I'm just not really a believer in Aston Villa, who look like they've been really struggling. And I don't know that they would have solved anything in that week off. Next, we go Nottingham Forest hosting Fulham. Currently, this is, I guess, the other nightcap starting at the same time, 9 p.m. German time, whatever that would be. Not sure with the Greenwich Mean Time, all that sort of stuff. Anyway, Nottingham Forest currently a pick'em at home with all the juice on Fulham on the road. And it looks like they might even climb to a quarter goal favorite. And that speaks to how well Fulham have played so far this season. Nottingham Forest, on the other hand, I mean, they're going to have a great crowd, great venue there, great support. But is that enough for them to get a victory at home? I'm not so sure. Until this hits a quarter of a goal, I'm not interested in Nottingham Forest. But ultimately, going into this matchup, I was hoping that the marketplace might overrate the Nottingham Forest home field advantage, and it certainly hasn't done that. Moving to Saturday, we have Wolves hosting Manchester City. Currently, Wolves a 1.5 goal underdog at home. So Man City expected to take all 3 points in this one, and they're a really hard team to go against. Had Champions League midweek. Wolves have had a lot of time to get ready, thanks to the Queen's death, for this one. But ultimately, they're going to have to try to restrict space and try to limit Man City's chances. And I just don't trust Wolves to score goals. They might have had a win in their last match, I believe, at home against Southampton, which seemed pretty fortunate to me. And I just don't really feel like I can trust them to score. And Man City, I know, will score at least one. And once they get that first one, that second one is much more likely. Moving on to Newcastle and Bournemouth. Newcastle a 1.25 goal favorite, which is a gigantic number, in my humble opinion. Newcastle have never really shown they can score a lot of goals. They get goals from Fabian Schär from outside the box, from Kieran Trippier, from free kicks. I don't see a lot with their offense in the box unless Callum Wilson's playing. I'm not sure in his status for this matchup, but he's literally seconds away from an injury at every time, I think more so than any other player. And I do wonder also about the status of Bruno Guimaraes, because Newcastle have kind of shown that they are the team that they were before they made the signings. They've done a lot of good business and have been pretty shrewd with their investments, but seeing them have to win by more than a goal here seems like a lot. I mean, Bournemouth are going to go and play a counter-attacking style. Certainly didn't work very well at Anfield, but I feel like that 9-0 loss is going to really give us some value on backing Bournemouth moving forward. So I like Bournemouth. I like them getting a goal and a quarter, despite having most of the juice as we speak or as I record. Tottenham then hosting Leicester. Currently Tottenham a 1.25 goal favorite at home. Leicester are just a team we can't back right now, and I feel like there's little for me that I want to say. Tottenham coming off a really poor performance in Champions League. I think it matches kind of who they've been this season. Ceding possession is not the way to do it. It's worked fairly well, and they've covered some big spreads so far, but I just don't think that'll keep happening. Thing is, I just don't know how you can back Leicester right now with their financial situation, with the sales that they've done with their players and their talent that's exiting in mass. And unfortunately, I feel like there's not really a light at the end of the tunnel. Moving to Sunday, Brentford hosting Arsenal. Currently, Brentford a 3/4 goal underdog with all the juice right now. Really great performance in their Premier League debut last season, winning in this fixture at home against Arsenal. Arsenal are a lot better team now and have been a lot more dominant to start the year, but still not necessarily a believer in them. They did have the midweek off thanks to the Queen's death. Inexplicable, but whatever. And that will help them because they would have been playing a Europa League match. And so on equal footing, certainly Arsenal's more talented, have better players, and certainly will be more fit, I think, because they have a stronger bench to use. But I like Brentford just based on their style. I think that they play defensive football. They have a little bit more attacking talent than I think you'd expect from a recently promoted side in their sophomore year in the Premier League. But at 3/4 of a goal, I like that there's a little safety and a single goal loss. Not a lot because you'll lose your bet, but only half your stake. So that 3/4 is fairly important, but I'd probably sit and wait and see where this money comes, because I wouldn't be surprised if Arsenal money comes and swings this one into them being holding more juice at 3/4 and maybe even pushes up to 1, because I feel like this number is a lot higher than I was expecting. Next to go, Everton, West Ham. This is like the last match on the card. Unfortunately, so many matches canceled due to lack of police. Who would have thunk in the year of our Lord 2022? But Everton are a home underdog, a 1/4 goal underdog at that, with all the juice right now to West Ham. West Ham had to play midweek in Europa League, weren't as lucky as Arsenal to blame it on the Queen and get a week match day off. But from where I sit with Everton, the hard part for me is how do you expect them to score goals? They should have a great crowd behind them, which is going to be really important. I just don't know that I necessarily believe in their front line. I don't see any reason to think that Dominic Calvert-Lewin's going to play in this match, or even if he does, be effective. It's really Tom Davies on his own, and I feel like West Ham and David Moyes should be clever enough to take him out of this match, either with physicality and fouling him, or just by putting 2 guys on him and just making sure he doesn't beat you. A Kobe defense, if I can make an NBA reference. I lean to Everton at home, though, because I don't believe in West Ham scoring, but it's very juiced right now. It might fall to pick them by the time this one kicks off. From here, next we'll move a little bit southeast to Spain, and we have Valladolid hosting Cadiz on a Friday matchup. Valladolid currently a 1/2 goal favorite, which is a pretty large number, I think, for them. And ultimately, it's one of those things where we'll go best bets for each country end of show. So stick around with me. I'll just give the analysis on each of these matches in the meantime. But Cadiz have been so bad to start the year. They're probably getting a higher spread than they deserve. I think they're closer to Valladolid than the 1/2 goal that they're getting currently, though on the road and with a lot of juice. So maybe this will fall to a 1/4 by the time kickoff comes. But I'm just not interested in backing Cadiz until they prove something to me, that they're a better team than they have in the last 2 years, just like barely staying in the league, but they've somehow found a way to do it. I wonder if their manager, Sergio Gonzalez, if he's not there yet, if he's not out the door yet, if that's coming soon. Valladolid certainly aren't a juggernaut by any means. I just don't think the Cadiz have done enough for me to want to back them just yet. Moving to Saturday with Mallorca hosting Almeria in the early matchup, 2 p.m. local time here. I think probably 7 a.m. start central in the U.S. Mallorca, a 1/2 goal favorite right now. Almeria with all the juice on the road. And they look like a very different team after selling Umar Sadiq. And that was kind of expected, but they held on to it for a while and got off to a great start, which is really important and kind of showed how awesome he is. Really dominant last year in La Segunda División. But ultimately, Mallorca, they're a defensive side that want to sit back and counter. And that doesn't sit well or fit well as a home favorite. Certainly, as a 1/2 goal favorite, a draw wins a full bet on Almeria, and they're going to go in there and they're going to probably try to be the defensive side. So Mallorca are going to have to try to get Mariki loose. He did score off of a set piece free kick against Real Madrid, and I feel like that shows kind of how potent he can be, even against the best of the league. But as a favorite, especially 1/2 goal variety, I'm not into Mallorca, so I'll be looking at Almeria on Saturday morning. Barcelona then hosting Elche, currently Barca a 2 3/4 goal favorite. And really, they can make that number whatever they want. I don't think I want to touch Elche even at +3, which doesn't look like that number will get there, but it may by the time kickoff comes. Elche just doesn't seem like they're at the races. They got blasted by Athletic Club, who really struggled to score, but did it on the road last weekend at Elche. And that's just their team that looks like they're going down. I don't want to deal with them at the moment. Valencia then hosting Celta de Vigo. Currently Valencia a quarter goal favorite in the nightcap on Saturday, or excuse me, not the nightcap, penultimate game on Saturday. Celta de Vigo getting a quarter goal. I thought they outplayed Atletico Madrid, just struggled with finishes, and then defense let them down a few times. And I feel like a lot of it was bad luck. But Valencia, on the other hand, had to sell some of their best players. I mean, Gonzalo Guedes out the door. They did get Jose Luis Gaya, their captain and fullback, back, but ultimately he's not going to play too much of a factor in scoring goals, I don't suspect. But they also just had to sell Carlos Soler, their acting captain, in the meantime. So things aren't great at Valencia financially. Gattuso's come in and is really trying to remake a squad with younger players. The hard part is that going against Celta Vigo, who are pretty polished. I mean, Iago Aspas is definitely as polished as you can get as a stone. Older, but still such a great finisher. Had a great shot that hit the post and wanted to change the whole frame of the match last weekend at Atletico Madrid. But I like them getting a quarter. Valencia just as a favorite aren't a team that I want to play. I think they have to prove a lot under Gattuso to be a worthy favorite, and they certainly aren't one yet because they could not score at all last year. So finally, the nightcap on Saturday night, we have Athletic Club hosting Rayo Vallecano. Current Athletic Club a 1-goal favorite, and I still don't believe they can score a lot of goals. And that's a big problem. Over unders 2.5. I lean under there as well as I almost do on every Athletic Club game. Both of these teams want to sit back and counter. I think that almost makes me feel like I want to back Rayo a little bit more than that under because I like them to stay within a goal, even if they do fall behind and end up losing this match. I think they probably could score against Athletic Club because they probably will be the one with less possession and the one actually trying to use their counterattack more. Athletic Club, I think, are going to have a lot of the ball at home in a great environment and a great venue. It just doesn't put the ball in the net, unfortunately. So lean to Rayo +1 and also that under 2.5. Might think about a little bit later on which one I like more. Moving to Sunday, Osasuna hosting Getafe. Currently, Osasuna, half a goal favorite with all the juice. It's a big number, but they've been playing really well. Hard to argue with their performances at home so far to start the year. Getafe just look a little bit lost to me right now. Kike Flores was a godsend to them last year after a really bad start. They're kind of in that same boat right now. I don't know exactly how hot his seat is. I think he signed a little bit more of a longer term deal than their previous manager, so they probably stick with him a little bit longer. I lean to Getafe because I don't believe in Osasuna scoring. I just don't know where the goals come from. Enes Ünal with a good performance in his last match, and I think they did get an upset win against somebody. I can't remember exactly who that was. But ultimately, I feel like I need to see a little bit more from Getafe to trust them. Next, we have Villarreal hosting Sevilla. Currently, Villarreal a 3/4 goal favorite with almost all the juice right now. Sevilla had to play midweek, goalless draw in Copenhagen, and really struggled with Copenhagen's defense, which was pretty creative and talented, I thought, and was a really great design. But I think it speaks to Sevilla's offense more that they're getting 2 goals and assists from a defender that was not really very well known in their last matchup that finally got them a win against Espanyol. I don't know that Villarreal should be a 3/4 goal favorite to Sevilla, especially coming off a disappointing performance. But they were favored and closed the favorite at the Benito Villamarín against Real Betis. Now they get another Sevillan team in Sevilla FC here. It's just not enough for me until I get +1 in Sevilla, and I'm not even sure that will be enough. Next, we go Real Sociedad hosting Espanyol. Currently, Real Sociedad a 3/4 goal favorite at home in the Real Arena, coming off midweek match, which is going to put them in a little bit tougher position. They're going to have to balance being the favorite, but they've been that way for a little while. Espanyol, on the other hand, not a great start to the year. A lot of questions. The new manager who came in, formerly of Granada, and was really great for Granada, left them, and then they went down last year, probably unsurprisingly. But things haven't gone so well for him just yet. I think I want to get a full +1 before I play. Next, we go Real Betis hosting Girona. Betis a 3/4 goal favorite, had to play midweek, so that's going to zap some legs a little bit and certainly give me some questions. But a really good performance last weekend against Villarreal at home, despite being and closing the home underdog. I think Girona are going to give them a tough time. I don't really know what to say about the Girona offense without Christian Stuani, who's out with a heart issue. Scary situation, but I think he's all right. I saw him in the crowd the last matchup. I think at +1 is the minimum I'd look at Girona. Next, Atletico Madrid hosting Real Madrid in a big Madrid derby madrileño. Currently, Atleti a 1/4 goal underdog at home. And I haven't had a good season with Atleti. I'll put it and I'll state it as loudly from the hilltops as I can. Atleti, I don't think are a very good team. I did back them on the road as a pick'em at Leverkusen, and even they were able to to turn over Leverkusen's poor start to the year. Real Madrid are not the scariest team that somehow wins La Liga each year and starts out perfectly. I think from where I sit with Atleti, I can't see this number getting much higher. Maybe it closes a half a goal underdog, but probably won't get there. And I just don't think there's enough for me to want to get involved in this one. Another reminder, we'll do best bets for each league and a show as a little bit of a recap because I got a little feedback that people like that. Moving now to Italy for Friday. We have Salernitana hosting Lecce. Currently, Salernitana a quarter goal favorite, and they're playing a lot better. They added a lot to the team. I mean, had a incredible stay up comeback to stay in the league last season. Lecce have been competitive. I don't like them as a quarter goal underdog in this matchup. I need at least a half, I think, because I think I like Salernitana. They're emerging as a team I want to back in the league. Moving to Saturday, Bologna hosting Empoli. Currently, Bologna a quarter goal favorite with almost all the juice. I don't know that I fully trust Bologna. They finally got a big win after changing managers, though it might have been because they caught Fiorentina, though they're trailing and ended up scoring 2 unanswered goals to win 2-1. Empoli can score. Bologna have really had trouble with it and certainly looked like they were dealing with some injury problems to Arnautovic. Without him, that offense is significantly different. I think at Empoli's, if Arnautovic is in, I think if I'm going to back Empoli, I need a half of a goal, and I don't have that yet. Spezia then hosting Sampdoria. Pick them right now, a little bit more juice on Spezia at home. It feels really disrespectful to see Spezia at this number. They haven't been playing well, and the new manager's strategy hasn't really worked with what they were playing previously. And I feel like that's a big tug of war between wanting to be offensive and wanting to play a defensive counterattacking style that looked like Galtier did fairly well at Udinese, but ultimately is why he's at Spezia. It didn't work out perfectly. Sampdoria are a team I'm looking to bet against. I'd like them to close a favorite here. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. Next we go, last matchup on Saturday is Torino hosting Sassuolo. Torino, a half a goal favorite with all the juice right now. I lean to Sassuolo because I feel like they're not that different than Torino. They've had a tough start to the year and have sold a ton of players off. Their defensive back line looks older and older with Ferrari back there. Chiriches has moved on, but not a lot of defense that I want to back at Sassuolo. Torino, on the other hand, though, they're just not scoring a ton of goals. I mean, they haven't had really the services of Belotti for 2 seasons now. Last season, what's started of this one. And I feel like without him, they haven't been that reliant. I think this was 3/4 of a goal earlier in the week and has fallen to -1/2, but very juiced, so might climb back up. The higher this gets, the more interested I'm in Sassuolo. Moving to Sunday, Udinese hosting Inter Milan, the early matchup. Udinese only a half a goal underdog at home. I think it speaks to Inter Milan with a bunch of matches they've been playing midweek in Champions League. It hasn't been going great for them so far, but maybe a little bit of a bounce back from this midweek. Udinese, on the other hand, thrashed Roma 4-0, and it looked like they deserved every piece of that. Could have been worse. Number feels pretty tight to me right now, but ultimately a home draw does cover the spread fully for Udinese, and that's the way I lean. Cremonese then hosting Lazio. Currently Cremonese a half a goal underdog at home, similar scenario to Udine. Lazio, though, scoring a ton of goals, and they have goals in their team. Had to play midweek, and that's a concern for sure. I just don't know that Cremonese have been competitive enough, and I don't think they can score with Lazio, and that's what Lazio probably will do. Fiorentina then hosting Verona. Currently Fiorentina a half a goal favorite with all the juice right now, which is the numbers coming down, I think, as it should be. Fiorentina have not been playing very well, dealing with a lot of injuries, and that's been hurting them for sure. But I'm not sure it's that much of an excuse. Verona played really well. I thought deserved a penalty to equalize right in stoppage time last weekend at Lazio, and then was waved away. VAR didn't ask for a review. Then they gave up a goal right at the end to Luis Alberto, and that was one of the most brutal non-covers. Should have been a push at the very worst, and then ended up losing your full stake. Tough. But I think Verona have shown that they've been a little bit more competitive. Lines have not liked them a lot this year, I think, due to not trusting their offense. But Thomas Henry has been very good up front, finishing as a big body. Came in for Venezia after last season's relegation. And I like Lasagna's speed, I always have, as kind of a second striker. So I lean to Verona getting half of a goal and think it might climb by the time this match kicks off. Monza then hosting Juve. Currently, Monza a half a goal favorite. Juventus, I mean, took an early lead as they do in a lot of matches. Arik Milik is scoring all the time, as he did for Marseille last year, as he did previously, I think, for Napoli. He's a great player, and I feel like should be playing every second they can get him out there. Monza haven't really looked like they're at the races. I was hoping they'd be a bigger underdog. So a lot of respect for Monza in this number. And if you want to back the market, I think you play Monza here. Next, we have Roma hosting Atalanta. Big matchup. Roma having to play midweek. Atalanta, no European commitments from what I can see. Roma half a goal favor right now. All the juice on Atalanta on the road. I feel like Atalanta, their expectations have kind of come down which is great because that's where they got too high, it seemed like, especially selling players and their best wingbacks mid-season to Inter. It didn't seem like they were really going for the Scudetto last year, and I fell in that trap, unfortunately. But I like what I've seen from them so far this year. The defense has been better, and they can score goals. Roma's defense has never been great under Mourinho. They want to outscore you, and I feel like that kind of points that over under at 2.5, which seems really low to me. So maybe an over there is potentially worth a look as well. I lean to Atalanta also. Last but not least, in Serie A, we have AC Milan hosting Napoli, both playing midweek matches. AC Milan with a good performance, getting a win in an early match, which is a benefit to them. Got a few extra hours of rest, and also I think stayed home for that one as well. Milan currently a quarter goal favorite with most of the juice right now. Napoli, it's hard to argue with how they performed so far this year, though. I believe in them. I trust them. If they keep performing, I mean, the sky's the limit. They're so good. I do worry about staying healthy, especially with Victor Osimhen. But getting the quarter I like right now, it's basically saying they're even with AC Milan, which is probably a little bit too respectful of Napoli, but ultimately that draw does pay you half a bet at this quarter. So I like that. And currently more of the juices on AC Milan. Maybe this climbs to a half. And they get a half of a goal. I will be a Napoli buyer for sure. Next, we move to the German Bundesliga. Coincidentally, as I'm here, again, best bets for each of the leagues end of show. Mine's currently a 3/4 goal favorite. And mine's have given a ton of respect from the marketplace lately. I don't necessarily agree with it, but they've been getting it and I've been paying it off. Whether it's been deserved, I'm not sure. Hertha, I feel like, have been playing better. Finally got rewarded with a good performance last weekend with the draw from a 2-1 lead. Fell behind 1-0, took a 2-1 lead on a great screaming goal from Marco Richter, fresh off of testicular cancer. So great story there. Didn't love that they kind of held on for dear life late and had a couple really last-ditch efforts to block shots, which shouldn't have happened at Leverkusen, or at home against Leverkusen. But ultimately got the draw. Maybe that adds some confidence. I think the win would have been really helpful. But ultimately, mines I think are overpriced here at 3/4 goal favorite. It's a Friday matchup, and I like that one a lot. Moving to Saturday, Leverkusen hosted Werder Bremen. Currently, Leverkusen a 1-goal favorite. Juice is really strong on Werder Bremen on the road, but should be because I think they're the better play here, and I feel like the full goal of assurance is too high. Leverkusen, I thought were the better team against Atletico Madrid finally, but I still don't trust them to score a ton of goals. Werder Bremen have been scoring late. I don't trust that either necessarily. I just don't think Leverkusen have done enough to prove that they aren't an auto fade right now, and there's a lot of safety in that +1 that we see. Stuttgart then hosting Eintracht Frankfurt. Currently, Stuttgart a quarter goal favorite at home. All the juice on Frankfurt on the road, and I like Frankfurt as a better team. Stuttgart, I still don't know that they can score goals reliably. And moving to a favorite, I feel like when they probably would have been a pick 'em in this type of position last year, maybe due to Frankfurt's successes in Europe, but ultimately I feel like it hasn't gone great for them just yet either. But I feel like buying low a little bit on Frankfurt is a worthy side right now. Though that quarter is very juice, has all the juice right now at Bet Online. So we'll see where that number goes. Augsburg then hosting Bayern München. Currently, Augsburg a 2.25 goal favorite, and they've had really good success in this matchup, beating Bayern last year in this situation. Got a big win Friday last week. I'm not sure it was fully deserved, but they got it. Had a huge penalty save late from Giekewitz, their goalkeeper. Bayern München have not looked great, but got a good win against Barcelona midweek and have 3 straight draws in the Bundesliga, which is a crisis. I imagine they'll pull out of that. And I don't think I can get involved with Augsburg, hoping them to hang around with Bayern, despite winning last year. And for the match I'm going to, the Revier Derby, Borussia Dortmund hosting FC Schalke 04, 04. Currently, Dortmund a 1.5 goal favorite. All the juice on Schalke on the road. Big number. But these are very different teams with a huge crowd behind them. I mean, tickets were so hard. I just bought them on like the StubHub equivalent, which I'm sure everyone in Germany is booing me for. But ultimately, it's a big hot ticket. No tickets were available. I swear I refreshed the ticket site at Dortmund just for them to say it was only for ticket members, like the day the tickets were going on sale. Regardless, I don't know that Schalke, I mean, they've played really defensively. Frank Kramer is a good manager, knows what he's doing that way. They have a little bit more in attack than you'd think with Salazar and Bulter, but ultimately it's going to be a scary atmosphere tomorrow. And I just feel like Dortmund can name their score here, despite Schalke's defensive efforts. And I don't think that Schalke can score with them. So if you like a low scoring game, over under right now is 3.25, which is gigantic. If you like a low scoring game, Schalke and that +1/2 or that under 3.25 looks decent. I just don't know that will happen or that there's enough there for me to actually bet it. Next, we have Borussia Mönchengladbach in the nightcap, which I thought was going to be the Dortmund match, but the Riviera Derby. Instead, they chose this one, which puzzles me a little bit, but it is what it is. Gladbach, a quarter goal underdog at home with most of the juice right now. I thought they played a pretty good stalemate with Freiburg last weekend, though catching Freiburg off of Europa League certainly the best position to get them. Leipzig, on the other hand, I still don't really trust. Coming off a tough match for Real Madrid. I mean, there's a lot of questions for me, especially as them as a favorite, now on the road as a favorite. They haven't really had good success over the years, the last couple seasons on the road. Marco Russo coming in, a Leipzig kid. It's a really nice story, but there's a reason why he wasn't employed. And I feel like Gladbach under Falca, they played a really interesting counterattacking style, which is kind of what Rosa had played a couple seasons ago. Rosa certainly knows a lot about this team, but it's been a little while. The team's changed a fair amount as new players have come in and a lot have left from the Rosa team. I like Gladbach in that quarter at home. Moving to Sunday, Union Berlin hosting Wolfsburg. Union, a half a goal favorite at home. And that's a lot for them to lay because they're not a huge offense. They've looked so good this year. It's hard to really want to go against them. Wolfsburg with a big win against Frankfurt last weekend. Based in a bet that I made based on Wolfsburg being, I think, underrated and really their opponent being overrated. I think they're going to have a tough situation here going into the eastern portion of Berlin and trying to get a result against the Eisernen. A draw wins you a full bet right now, but it's very juiced, and I just don't know that I want to fade Union because I love backing them so much. Next, we go Bochum hosting Köln, a match that I'm trying to go to on Sunday. Bochum, bottom of the table, all losses to start the year, have deserved better from performances, but they're really struggling, and it's really hard to believe in them. But I like them getting a quarter at home, as sick as that makes me sound. Cologne, on the other hand, had to play midweek. They're going to struggle with balancing two competitions and not having Anthony Modeste. They've had to redesign their offense, or they really haven't. They're still doing the same thing, crosses in the box, trying to find a tall striker. Problem is, Anthony Modeste is so much better at finishing. And I don't think that's really been seen just yet for Dortmund as he's trying to find his way into the team to make their offense flow a little bit better. But Cologne, they're just not the same offense as a road favorite. I think they're vulnerable, like Bochum and a big crowd, which I hope to be a part of on Sunday. Last but not least, in Germany on Sunday, we have Hoffenheim hosting Freiburg. Currently, Hoffenheim, a quarter goal favorite, with a little bit more of the juice right now. Freiburg coming off midweek first Europa League midweek match on the road. It's going to be tough for them, asking their legs to keep doing this over and over again. So I do think the sights on the international break coming up will help. And Freiburg are great at rotation. That's what Christian Streich does. I lean to Freiburg getting a quarter on the road, though Hoffenheim are a really strong team, and I do worry about some rotation for Freiburg in this one. So I want to see what that lineup looks like. Because Hoffenheim, I think, can score goals. Maybe at quarter might not be enough, despite Freiburg being an awesome team. Last but not least, we'll move to French League 1 before we'll go through best bets from each country and give an ultimate best bet. Friday, we have Auxerre hosting Lorient. Currently, Auxerre, they pick them with a little bit more on the juice on Lorient on the road. Auxerre had a really tough stretch of matches against the top of the league, did not go very well. And then now they're underdogs at home to a relegation fighting team, potentially. Lorient off to a better start this year, despite selling Loriente. I know the names sound the same, but different. And that's a big loss for them. But I'm a little surprised to see Lorient favored like that here, but Auxerre have not deserved the respect of being favored at home, unfortunately. Moving to Saturday, Montpellier hosting Strasbourg in the early matchup. Montpellier, pick them, but with all the juice right now, not a lot for me to do, but I lean to Strasbourg as Montpellier have a lot of problems, a lot of flaws in that defense. Strasbourg's three-man attacking monster, three-headed monster up front with Diallo and Ajorc and also Kevin Gamiro is really great. I like them as an underdog. Hopefully that moves there. Lille then hosting Toulouse in the nightcap. Lille, a three-quarter goal favorite. And I like Toulouse. I feel like Lille have played out. They've drastically outperformed expectations, but I'm not sure how long that lasts. Toulouse, on the other hand, I think are talented enough. The Ligue 2 champions that came up and have really shown that they have that same spirit as last year. Some safety on losing by a single goal. That's still a loss in the record-keeping books. So we'll see if this one jumps to 1. I don't think that'll happen based on Toulouse having a little more juice right now. And they've been getting a lot of respect this year, and I like them on Saturday at the nightcap. Moving to Sunday, we have a bunch of French Ligue 1 matches. Reims hosting Monaco in the early one. Reims a quarter goal underdog at home. Monaco with midweek action, having to play Europa League. That's going to be tough. But I lean to Reims. I feel like they haven't had the same cover every week type of situation they did last year, which was great to me and my family. Thank you for that, Oscar Garcia. But I do like them as a quarter goal underdog at home. I do want to see what's going on with Fayez and making sure that he comes back in that center back line. I think he's been injured, but that's been disappointing. I do lean to the home dog in Reims, the champagne makers. Brest then hosting Ajaccio in the next window in France. Brest a half a goal favorite, which is a very expensive price for them to lay. But ultimately, Ajaccio's offense has been pretty poor, and I just don't really trust them. All the juice on Ajaccio getting that half of a goal, so it might fall to a quarter by the time this match kicks off. I just don't know that a team that can't score, I want to back going on the road because I just don't think they can score one. And having to get a goalless draw is going to be tough. Would make me lean more to that under 2.25. But I also could see Brest having a good match here. Nice then hosting Angers. Currently Nice a 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice. Maybe this climbs to 1, and that's where I get interested on Angers. Nice had to play midweek. Still haven't been firing, to say the least. And I feel like a goal is a good output for them right now. And I think Angers can score. Got questions about the Angers goalkeeping situation. Finally seeing Berlusconi on the bench was a great move for them. Big reason, I think, why Saint-Etienne might have gone down last year after he was added on loan. Came back to Angers right into the team, but they haven't been great at goalkeeper, and clearly they've had some financial problems. I lean to Angers, but I hope that climbs to 1 on Sunday. Marseille then hosting Rennes in a big battle of two offenses, both playing midweek, and who knows what the lineup's going to look like heading into the international break. Currently, Marseille a half a goal favorite, all the juice on Rennes on the road. At a quarter, I think I'm willing to pass this one up and let this one go at the Orange Velodrome, but ultimately I like Rennes. I don't know that I'm still a believer in their offense just yet, but it did get back on terms against Auxerre last weekend with a blowout victory. Started early, great, and then a lot of add-ons late. But Marseille are a tough team to go against. I feel like they haven't been getting what they deserved in Champions League so far, and that's not a great thing because things can turn pretty quickly in Marseille. Next, we have Clermont Foot hosting Troyes. Currently, Clermont a quarter goal favorite at home. All the juice on Troyes on the road. Two teams that are fighting relegation for sure. 4 teams go down in Ligue 1 this season, so a lot of them will still be in that fight up until the last match day, most likely. Troyes had a really poor start, but have been turning around a little bit better. Clermont just haven't gotten a lot of respect from the marketplace, and I feel like it continues here. I would love to see more on Troyes. Might be one of those I let home field advantage just make the line and let that one pass. Last but not least, we have Nantes hosting, or excuse me, not last but least. Two matches left to go in France. Sorry, jumped the gun. Nantes, a quarter goal underdog at home to Lens. Not having to play midweek, Lens not having to do it. Lens being power rated, markets putting them as a better team, being a favorite on the road at Nantes. Not a great situation for Nantes, I don't think. Legs are tired. They've had to rotate. They're playing 2 competitions. They haven't done that in a while, especially after almost being relegated 2 seasons ago. Not a team that I want to fade as Lens right now. And last but not least, one of the Olympiques, I guess, or one of the big derbies in France is Olympique Lyonnais. Voila, as I put up the badge. For those of you listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, probably not great, but please leave the 5 stars. You can imagine my Olympique Lyonnais training shirt. Anyway, Lyon, a 1-goal underdog at home with all the juice. Pretty small number for PSG, but ultimately they're probably not going to be favored by less than a goal this whole season. Maybe against Marseille on the road, potentially, but I lean to Lyon because I think they can give PSG a match. I haven't been fading PSG, and it's been good for me to avoid that sort of thing. PSG had Maccabi Haifa midweek, went behind early. I mean, I'm sure you can guess how that match went, but ultimately, Lyon are a good goal-scoring team. They can keep up with PSG. My biggest question is about their defense, and that might be the reason why I stay away from even that full goal of insurance at home in what should be a crazy crowd. So now we come to the last part of the show where everyone's wanting to come in here, find my best bets for each of the countries that we're covering today in the 5 top European leagues, and also an ultimate best bet. So we'll start, I guess, from the most recent. We'll start with France Ligue 1 and nothing on Friday. Maybe if Strasbourg moved to an underdog of a quarter, that might be interesting. Toulouse getting 3/4 is on the list for sure. Reims is a quarter goal underdog at home to Monaco off a match midweek is useful. Ajaccio at a half of a goal. I just don't know if I trust the offense. Angers, I want 1. Rennes at the current half I like, but Marseille get an extra day of rest and are at home. That's a scary thing. Troyes I like as a quarter goal underdog, but still feels a little short. Nantes, I think I will pass as a home underdog. Certainly want to see what that lineup looks like. And then Lyon, that 1-goal underdog hosting PSG. I just don't know if there's enough in that crowd to make them suddenly able to defend or score enough goals with PSG to look like a super team at the moment. I'll go with Toulouse, a 3/4 goal underdog. It's my best bet for France. That'll be my pick, and that's a Saturday night matchup for those of you that are following along. Going back to the Bundesliga, Hertha Berlin getting 3/4 of the goal, I do like on Friday quite a bit. From there, I also am interested in Werder Bremen on Saturday, getting a full goal of insurance from Leverkusen. Eintracht Frankfurt, a quarter goal underdog on the road at Stuttgart feels too high to me. Augsburg, I'm going to skip. Schalke, I'm just not going to get involved with. I do like Mönchengladbach, a half a goal underdog at home to Leipzig, the big one on Saturday night. Union Berlin on Sunday are good enough that I'm not going to fade them. I like Bochum at home, but it's hard to trust them at home against Cologne, despite what should be a big crowd on Sunday. And I like Freiburg on the road, but I need to see that lineup, so I don't think I can play that just yet. I'll make my best bet on, let's see. I do like Hertha Berlin on Friday, getting 3/4 of a goal, but that match is going to start pretty soon. So for my best bet for Germany, I'm going to pick Borussia Mönchengladbach, a quarter goal underdog at home against Leipzig. So best bet so far from France, we'll do Toulouse plus 3/4 and Borussia Mönchengladbach plus 1/4 in Germany. Moving back through Italy, Salernitana hosting Lecce. Not enough for me on Lecce. Empoli, not enough there, and certainly want to see Arnautovic's status. Spezia Pick'em. Sassuolo at a half, probably not enough for me, but I like that side. I like Udinese in the home dog roll against Inter, trying to take advantage of some weary legs potentially and offer a really good match as well. Cremonese, not enough. Verona, I like as a half a goal underdog. I'm hoping that it'll come back to the 3/4 I saw earlier this week, but I still like that a lot. Like Monza, but probably not enough. Atalanta, I think, play a really competitive match. I'm not sure that's there. And Napoli, I'd love to get a half of a goal from Milan. So my best bet from Italy, I'm going to go with Hellas Verona getting a half of a goal at Fiorentina. Fiorentina with a tough match midweek. Didn't play well at Bologna last weekend, and Verona I feel like are better than the market's been pricing them so far this year. So Verona at a half of a goal. Borussia Mönchengladbach is a quarter goal underdog at home in the German Bundesliga, and Toulouse getting 3/4 are my current best bets from each of the countries. One ultimate best bet coming at the end of the show, best of them all, best of the rest. Cadiz, I'm skipping on Friday in Spain. Almeria I like as a half a goal underdog, but not sure that they're good enough just yet. And I think replacing Umar Sadiq is too hard for them at the moment. Skipping Elche, I do like Celta de Vigo a lot on the road at Valencia. I think they can score more goals than Valencia can, yet they're an underdog. Rayo Vallecano I like as a 1 goal underdog, and a counter-attacking masterclass is likely going to happen. Under 2.5, I like a little bit there as well. Lean to Getafe, not that strong. Don't think I can back Sevilla. Espanyol, I need a full goal. Girona, I think I need a full goal. Girona also. And Atleti, I just don't want to. I think I'm only fading Atleti from now on unless the situation is really great. Best bet for Spain, I'm going to go with the under 2.5 in Athletic Club Rayo Vallecano, as I think goals will be very hard against two teams that really want to nullify each other with counterattacks. So under 2.5 in the Athletic Club match is my best bet for Spain. Italy, just recapping, we'll go half of a goal on Verona. German Bundesliga, Mönchengladbach getting 1/4, and French League on Toulouse at 3/4. And last but not least, we'll do England to wrap this baby up for our last country best bet and then ultimate best bet end of show, which is coming really close. Thanks for hanging along, however long you've been here. I appreciate it. Aston Villa, I'd like to fade them on Southampton tonight. I gotta say, not sure I'm rushing to do that just yet at the quarter goal, but I do like that potentially hits a half. Fulham, not much to do with in that matchup. And then moving to Saturday, not playing Wolves. I do like Bournemouth getting a goal in a quarter. I think that's valuable. Leicester, too small, just too not, can't trust them. I do like Brentford getting that 3/4 of a goal at home. But I want that Arsenal money to push that up to 1. I don't think it'll get there, but I like it. And I do lean to Everton as well. In terms of best bets for England, I think I'm going to go on Saturday, I'm going to go with Bournemouth getting 1.25 goals from Newcastle. I just don't think that offense is good enough. Even if Callum Wilson is in there, I'm not sure that he's going to be as effective because he's already taken some big hits so far this season. I like Bournemouth getting 1.25 goals. So best bets across the big top leagues in Europe for this weekend of currently recording Friday, September 16th. We're going to go Bournemouth plus 1.25 from English Premier League. We're going to go Rayo Vallecano under 2.5 in Spain. Italy, we're going to take the half a goal that Verona are getting. In Germany, the 1/4 goal on Borussia Mönchengladbach at home. And last but not least, the French League Toulouse getting 3/4. And for my ultimate best bet, I'm going to take Hellas Verona getting a half of a goal on the road at Fiorentina. I think that might climb a little bit higher to 3/4, but I think they can go in there and I think they can win. Ultimately, a draw will pay that full bet. So that's what I'm most interested in. But thanks everyone for spending 40 minutes with me on this weekend. I'm going to go hit the town and get ready for a big Riviera Derby tomorrow. If anyone's around and wants to grab a beer, I got a couple of friends. Let's make it all happen. Hit me up, @thereal_G Warner. Thank you for wherever you're watching this, YouTube, Spotify, Twitter, anywhere you're doing it. If you could like, subscribe, leave 5 stars, give a review, do all sort of things, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thanks so much, and look forward to recording again next week before the international matches. Potentially, we'll see if that makes sense. We'll do it and try to get things going next week. Thanks a lot.